Emeka Okafor had everything. Big buildings. Expensive cars lined up in long rows. Private jets. People stood up whenever he walked into a room. They applauded whenever he gave a speech. His phone never stopped ringing. Rich beyond what most people could imagine, his family owned Okafor Global Holdings. People feared him. Some worshipped him. But deep inside, Emeka was tired. Tired of fake smiles. Tired of women who loved his money instead of his heart. The world called him brilliant. Powerful. Untouchable.
Your mother called twice, your father called once.
Tell the investors tomorrow I'm tired.
Then came the lonely nights. Every night was quiet. Too quiet. He lived alone in a massive mansion with rooms he never entered. The lights were on. But his heart felt dark. His bed was soft. Yet sleep never came easily. Every night he stared at the ceiling, asking himself the same question.
Does anyone love me for me?
Emeka had dated many women. Models. Lawyers. Influencers. They smiled because of his money. They laughed at his jokes. Even when they weren't funny. Deep down, Emeka knew the truth. They didn't love him. They loved the billionaire. Then came one woman. She was smart. Charming. Kind. Or so he believed. He gave her his heart. He bought her a ring. He planned a future with her. But one morning, he arrived at his office earlier than usual. He walked toward the executive office. Before entering, he overheard a conversation inside.
Emeka trusts me too much.
That is his problem.
Emeka quietly turned around and walked away. That day, something inside him broke. He canceled the wedding. He fired the chief financial officer. He locked himself inside his mansion for days. No one saw him. Not even Adaeze. Everyone believed he had traveled abroad. But he stayed home. Thinking. Hurting. Wondering.
Was I not enough for her? If I was poor, would anyone choose me?
That night, rain poured outside. Thunder shook the windows. Emeka stood silently beside the glass.
I'm gonna find out.
Emeka turned around. He picked up his phone and called Adaeze.
Get me an old shirt, torn trousers, and slippers.
Yes, sir.
Designer clothes, no watch, no car. I want to look like a man with nothing.
And Adaeze stayed quiet for a second, then said,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Emeka Okafor, billionaire CEO of Okafor Global Holdings, had made up his mind. He would pretend to be a poor man, not to play games, but to discover whether real love still existed. He didn't rush. He knew someone might recognize him. So he changed little by little. He stopped shaving. His beard became thick. He stopped wearing expensive suits. Instead, he wore old t-shirts, worn-out jeans, simple slippers, nobody's watch, no luxury car, no driver, no bodyguards following him. He packed a small bag, then quietly left his mansion before sunrise. The housekeepers believed he had traveled. No one knew where he was going. Not even his parents. They were away in London on business. That made everything easier. This was his chance to begin again. He found a small room in a rundown part of town. The walls were cracked. The window had no curtains.
The mattress smelled of dust, but he didn't complain. He wanted to live like a man who had nothing. Every day, he walked the streets. He took up small jobs, pushing wheelbarrows at the market, helping carpenters, sometimes washing cars. He got paid in cash, small notes that he folded into his pocket. Nobody knew who he was, and for the first time in years, he felt invisible. And strangely, it felt good. At night, Emeka sat on the edge of his old bed, looking at the torn calendar on the wall, thinking about his life, the real him, hidden behind money and power. This was what he had wanted, a clean slate. He spoke only when necessary. He smiled at people who passed by. Most ignored him. A few nodded, some stared, but no one recognized him. He had always been private, even as a billionaire. He hated the spotlight. That worked in his favor. Now, back in the city, Adora was working behind the scenes. She trusted Emeka, even if she didn't understand his plan. She used elite dating apps to arrange blind dates for him. Each woman was told the same story.
You're meeting a man who once had a successful life but lost everything because of this hard economy. He's now doing manual jobs while trying to rebuild his life.
None of them knew he was Emeka Okafor, the billionaire son of Chief Okafor, the man behind Nigeria's biggest tech and real estate empire. He met each woman at cheap restaurants or roadside spots, simple places with plastic chairs and hot food in foil. He always arrived early, sat with his head down, and waited. Of course, Adora had arranged one more thing: discreet security. Emeka had 2 bodyguards watching from a distance every time. They didn't wear suits or talk in earpieces. They blended into the background. One pretended to be a taxi driver. The other sold roasted plantain by the roadside. Their eyes were always on him just in case. Emeka didn't want trouble. He just wanted the truth.
Could any woman genuinely love and accept a man who appeared to have nothing?
The test had begun. The first date came on a Thursday evening. Emeka wore a faded shirt and jeans. His hair was messy. His shoes were dusty from walking all day. He sat outside a small buka that served jollof rice and suya. The sky was turning orange, and the air smelled of spice and smoke. She arrived wearing a bright pink dress, heels that clicked on the concrete, and long nails that sparkled in the sun. Her name was Chika, and she was a fashion influencer with over 100,000 followers on Instagram. She looked around once, saw Emeka, frowned, then looked around again as though she was hoping this was a mistake.
You're the one?
Yes.
She sat down slowly, her face already wrinkled
You know
in
what?
disgust.
I honestly thought this was a prank.
I like the food. It's quiet.
You actually invited me here? To this place? I can't do this. Next time, please dress like a human being, not like someone who just came out of the gutter.
She left before the waitress even brought water. Emeka sat in silence. He waited a few minutes, paid for everything, and walked home in the dark. The second date was more serious. Her name was Nkiru, a lawyer, sharp, confident, smart. She asked good questions, but something felt off. They met at a roadside spot where pepper soup was served in steel bowls.
You said you do manual work.
Yes.
What kind exactly? Daily pay or weekly?
It depends on the job.
What kind of house do you live in now?
Have you ever been married?
No.
How many siblings do you have? 3. Where do your parents live?
In the village.
What did you study?
I couldn't finish school.
What's your last name again?
Okafor.
She didn't eat. She just kept writing. Emeka answered politely, carefully hiding the truth. She wasn't there to know him. She was there to calculate whether he was a good investment. When the food arrived, she stood up.
I'll call you.
She never did. The third woman almost fooled him. Her name was Uju. She spoke softly. She smiled often. She seemed kind.
You know, I love humble men. I have a heart for people who are going through hard times and hustling just to survive.
Do you really mean that?
For the first time since beginning the experiment, Emeka felt hope. They talked for hours. She asked about his dreams. He told her about the future he hoped to build. She shared stories about growing up poor and how hardship had shaped her life. When they parted, she gently held his hand. As Emeka walked back to his tiny room that night, a smile appeared on his face. Maybe, just maybe, she was different. The next morning, his phone vibrated. It was a message from Uju. Hey love. I didn't want to ask, but I'm in a tough spot. My rent just expired, and I have nothing in the house to eat. Even a small help would mean a lot. I really believe in us. Emeka stared at the message. His smile slowly disappeared. So, that was the reason. Not even 24 hours had passed. She was already asking for money. It wasn't love. It was another disappointment. That night, Emeka sat outside his tiny room. The moon hung brightly in the sky. Dogs barked somewhere in the distance. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He simply sat there, thinking. Every smile, every conversation, Every rejection.
Maybe true love didn't exist. Maybe nobody ever saw the man. Maybe they only saw the money they imagined he had. And maybe that was all he would ever be to them.
Emeka sat on the edge of his bed, staring silently at the cracked wall while the old ceiling fan turned slowly overhead. The room felt unbearably hot. His shirt clung to his back with sweat. He had reached his limit. He picked up his phone and called Adora. The moment she answered, he spoke.
I'm done.
Sir, what do you mean?
I've tried. I've talked to them. I've walked miles under this scorching sun. I've sat on broken plastic chairs.
Yeah.
I've eaten at cheap roadside restaurants. And still, nothing. No one is genuine. No one is real. Maybe they never were. Adaora, I'm just a target. They don't want me. They only want what they think I can give them.
He was ready to end the experiment, ready to return to the mansion. But Adora spoke gently.
There are still good men and women in this world, sir. I married one of them.
Emeka became quiet.
You've never told me about your husband.
He wasn't wealthy when we got married. We met when both of us had almost nothing. All we had was hope. 10 years later, we're still together. We're happy. We have everything we truly need. Please don't let 3 disappointing women convince you that the right woman doesn't exist.
Do you really believe someone can love a man who has absolutely nothing?
Yes, but only if that man truly becomes nothing.
For real. Emeka narrowed his eyes. An idea suddenly formed in his mind.
Fine, let's take it all the way. Sir,
What do you mean?
I'll go out again, but this time, not as a poor laborer. I'll become a homeless beggar.
Isn't that taking things too far?
I want to know if anyone in this world can truly love a man who looks like he has lost absolutely everything.
Silence filled the call. Adora didn't answer immediately. Then, to Emeka's surprise,
I'll help.
the next morning, Adora arrived carrying a large bag. Inside were torn trousers, 2 ragged shirts, a threadbare hoodie, a pair of worn-out sandals. There was also an old faded sack with tiny holes, the kind people used for carrying garbage. Emeka slowly put everything on. He stood before the mirror. For a long moment, he stared at his reflection. Even he couldn't recognize himself. Adora stepped closer, adjusted the collar of his hoodie, and looked him in the eyes.
Don't speak much. Just sit, just watch, and listen.
Good luck to both of us.
Good luck, sir.
Emeka nodded quietly. Then he opened a small metal box beside the bed. Inside was something he had prepared the previous night. A folded check. Already signed. Amount, 5 million Nigerian nairas. He carefully slipped it inside the lining of his torn shirt.
I'll give this. To the first woman who shows me genuine kindness. Not because I begged her, but because she chose to care.
Adora swallowed hard.
Good luck, sir.
Emeka picked up the old sack. Without another word, he walked away. That day, he sat near busy market gates, bus stops, and crowded junctions across the city. His clothes were filthy. His hair was tangled. Dust covered his sandals. He spoke only when someone spoke to him first. People walked past him. Some looked at him with pity. Others laughed. A few dropped coins into his sack. Most simply ignored him. Hours passed. The city rushed around him like a fast-moving river. But Emeka remained still, watching, waiting, hoping, day after day. From sunrise until sunset, he moved from one location to another, sometimes beside a roadside, sometimes at a bus park, sometimes outside a busy market entrance. Every minute, people walked past him. Some whispered, some laughed. Others looked straight through him as though he didn't exist. A few tossed coins into his sack. One woman even threw a loaf of bread at him as though he were feeding an animal.
Take it, one, before people start saying nobody helped you.
Thank you.
But the hardest part wasn't the insults. It was the people who pretended to care. One afternoon, a young woman named Neka stopped beside him. She smiled warmly.
Ow, you look like you've been through a lot. Poor thing.
Emeka looked up at her with grateful eyes, pretending he hadn't eaten all day.
Please, can I have some water?
Her smile disappeared immediately.
You actually want food? Guess what? One smelly beggar just asked me for food.
Another woman, Chioma, sat beside him, took selfies with him, and told him to smile for the camera.
Smile for the camera, sir.
What is this?
Just smile. It will be a nice photo. Okay.
She uploaded the pictures with a caption. Helping the needy is a vibe. #blessed. Then she left without saying anything. No food, no kindness, just likes and comments. Emeka began to wonder if the world had completely lost its heart. Maybe Adora was wrong. Maybe kindness was gone. It was on the 5th evening. The clouds were heavy and the sky was dark. Rain had begun to fall. Not soft rain, but sharp, cold drops that slapped the ground and soaked the earth.
Rain don't come, quick! Oh yeah, quick, cover the goods. Hold them, pull them. No, tight, hold that side tight. You don't cover, may we go.
Emeka pulled his hoodie tighter. He sat near a tailor shop, its wooden sign barely hanging, the thread and needle logo washed out by years of sun. Then she came. She ran across the road with an umbrella in one hand and a nylon bag in the other. Her dress was simple, an elegant lilac blouse and black trousers. She wore plastic slippers and had her hair covered with a scarf. She stopped suddenly when she saw him sitting under a leaking zinc shade. Her eyes didn't show fear or disgust, they showed concern.
Sir, you're getting wet. You should come in from the rain.
Emeka looked up, shivering. She opened her bag and brought out a small container. She didn't say much, just offered it to him with both hands.
It's rice and beans. I cooked it for myself, but please eat. You look hungry.
Emeka took it slowly, not believing what was happening. She also took off her own wrapper and placed it over his shoulders.
This one is dry. You'll fall sick like this.
Thank you.
She smiled.
I'm Adaeze. And you?
Emeka.
Nice to meet you, Emeka. I sew clothes, and I teach at a nursery school nearby.
He nodded.
Me? I'm just trying to survive.
I can see life is hard these days.
She didn't ask for anything, she didn't take pictures, and she didn't look down on him. It was just kindness, pure and honest. After a while, the rain grew heavier. Adaeze looked at him and said,
If you want, you can stay by my shop till the rain stops. I'll be there sewing anyway.
I appreciate that, thank you. No one has spoken to me kindly in a long time.
Then it's about time someone did.
He followed her to the shop, small, wooden, and full of fabric. For the first time in weeks, Emeka felt accepted. That night, the rain didn't stop. It kept pouring, beating the roof of Adaeze's tiny sewing shop like drumming fingers. Emeka sat on a small stool near her table, his clothes drying slowly under the warm light of a single bulb. Adaeze boiled water in an electric kettle and poured it into a cup of tea.
Drink this. You'll feel better.
He took it with both hands. It was the kindest thing anyone had given him in weeks. They sat in silence for a while, before Emeka spoke softly.
I'm homeless for now.
Adaeze looked at him, surprised but not shocked. He expected pity or judgment, but she simply nodded.
Well, if you don't mind, you can stay here. It's not much, but it's dry and safe.
You'd let me sleep here?
Why not? My house is just around the corner. I come here every evening after teaching. I'll bring you food.
Emeka felt something warm in his chest, not from the tea, but from her. He looked around the space again, taking note of the sewing machines, rolls of fabric, and empty thread spools.
I can help you with your sewing or errands. Anything, really.
You know how to sew?
I can learn.
And so days passed. Emeka helped clean the shop, cut fabrics, carry bags for customers, and deliver clothes.
Here is your order, ma'am.
Thank you, Emeka. It looks wonderful.
In the evenings, he waited for Adaeze to return from the school where she taught. She would arrive dusty and tired, but always smiling.
Adaeze, Kedu.
Emeka, I'm well. And you? Odima?
The work is steady.
Good to hear.
As soon as she arrived, she would change into her sewing gown and work until late at night, stitching, measuring, and folding. Emeka watched her closely. She was not just kind, she was fire and grace all at once. He deeply admired a woman who taught children all day and still had the strength to build a business in the evening. One day, as they were folding wrappers and laughing at a crooked zipper, Emeka said jokingly,
You know I'm actually a billionaire, right?
Whether rich or poor, a kind man is still a treasure.
Emeka smiled. He reached into his shirt, brought out his folded check, and placed it on the table. Adaeze looked at it, picked it up, and read the numbers slowly.
5 million.
She said with raised eyebrows. She looked at Emeka, then laughed again.
You're funny. You must be practicing comedy.
She said, folding the check and handing it right back to him. Emeka just stared at her, completely amazed. She didn't even blink. Not once did her eyes show a single hint of greed. One evening, as they ate roasted yams and groundnut oil outside the shop, Adaeze seemed unusually quiet. Emeka noticed her mood.
You okay?
Just thinking.
About what?
She looked at him a little shy.
My family. My mom has been urging me to bring someone home. There's a celebration this weekend, my mother's 50th birthdays. And everyone will be there. Aunties, uncles, cousins, and questions. You know the kind. When will you marry? Where's the man? Why are you sure you're not hiding someone?
I know those questions too well.
Adaeze looked at him, her eyes twinkling.
I was wondering, would you come with me? Just pretend to be my fiancé.
Me?
I know it's silly, but I'd rather go with someone I'm familiar with than lie again or be mocked.
Emeka looked closely at her and realized she wasn't joking. She wasn't ashamed of him in his ragged clothes, dusty slippers, and old hoodie. She was genuinely asking him to stand beside her.
I'd be honored.
Early Saturday morning, Adaeze and Emeka traveled to her village. She wore a simple blue dress and tied her hair back. Emeka had trimmed his beard just a little and wore a plain button-up shirt with dark trousers. He no longer looked like a beggar, but he didn't wear anything flashy either, just simple, clean, and respectful. As they reached the family compound, loud voices, music, and laughter filled the air. Her mother's birthday party was already in full swing. Plastic chairs were scattered across the yard, steam was rising from large pots of jollof rice, and meat was sizzling loudly on the grills. They had barely stepped inside the compound when Chioma, Adaeze's elder sister, spotted them. Chioma wore a bright green dress with heavy gold jewelry that swung grandly as she walked, carrying herself like a queen. Chioma was a bank manager in the big city, and she made absolute sure that everyone knew it. Chioma glanced at Emeka from head to toe, her nose wrinkling in immediate disapproval.
This is him, Adaeze. This is your fiancé.
Adaeze smiled.
Yes, Chioma. Meet Emeka.
Chioma didn't smile back. Her eyes coldly scanned his simple shirt, his quiet shoes, and his surprisingly calm eyes.
You couldn't find someone more sophisticated. Or at least someone who didn't look like he borrowed his clothes from a bus driver.
She muttered, loud enough for others to hear. Emeka didn't respond to the insult. He just nodded respectfully. As they walked past her into the main compound, Adaeze whispered to him,
Sorry about her.
I've heard worse.
Later that afternoon, the entire family sat around the large dinner table. Plates clinked, drinks flowed, and conversations buzzed happily. Then, Uche walked in. He was tall, dark, and loud, Adaeze's ex-boyfriend. He wore an expensive designer shirt proudly displaying the Okafor Global Holdings logo on the chest, and he walked like he owned the entire place. He greeted everyone with a loud, fake smile and gave Adaeze a long hug, much longer than necessary. Emeka watched the display quietly.
I heard you're engaged. This him?
Yes, this is Emeka. And what are you doing here?
Uche chuckled loudly enough for the entire table to hear.
Well, from the look of things, Adaeze's taste hasn't improved. And to answer your question, your mom invited me.
The table suddenly went quiet. Uche continued to mock them, leaning in.
When you left me, I thought you were upgrading, but it looks like you went from an SUV to a bicycle.
A few relatives laughed nervously. Emeka didn't flinch or show anger, but Adaeze fiercely leaned forward.
I would choose Emeka over you 100 times, because unlike you, he listens, he respects me, and he doesn't cheat with his secretary and then blame it on stress.
Uche's face stiffened in embarrassment, but before he could reply, Adaeze's mother cleared her throat loudly. Her voice was firm and unyielding.
Emeka, what exactly do you do for a living?
Emeka smiled softly.
I do little things here and there.
Adaeze's mother was completely unimpressed.
So, no job, no land, no car. How exactly are you going to take care of my daughter? Mom, I'm happy. Isn't that what matters?
Her mother ignored her and stared directly at Emeka.
Are you sure you're not manipulating her? Hiding behind kind words because you know you have nothing to offer?
Emeka remained entirely calm. He didn't defend himself, and he didn't raise his voice. He simply looked down, folded his napkin, and took the criticism in silence. That night, after the guests had gone and the moon hung low in the sky, Emeka stepped outside into the quiet darkness of the compound. He pulled out his phone and made a quiet call, uttering just 5 words.
Adaora, send it tomorrow.
The next morning, the sun rose brightly over Adaeze's family compound. Everyone gathered in the yard for breakfast, laughing, eating leftover rice, and sharing stories from the night before. Suddenly, a loud sound came from outside the gates. The deep, heavy hum of a powerful car engine turned everyone's heads. A sleek, black SUV pulled up to the entrance, followed closely by 2 more luxury vehicles. All 3 cars were sparkling clean, heavily tinted, and clearly incredibly expensive. The driver of the lead SUV stepped out, wearing a sharp suit and holding a red file along with a small, elegant box. He walked into the compound and addressed the stunned gathering.
Who is the mother of Miss Adaeze?
Adaeze's mother stepped forward, completely confused and caught off guard. The driver politely handed her the box.
Your daughter's fiancé instructed me to deliver this. Inside the box are the keys to a brand new car.
The entire crowd gasped in disbelief. Is this for real? Before Emeka could say a single word, Uche stood tall, grinning arrogantly from ear to ear.
Come on now. You know I had to do something special for the woman who raised my first love.
Surprised eyes quickly turned away from the cars and directly to him. You bought all this? Someone asked.
I'm a supervisor for Okafor Global Holdings. Remember? Life has changed.
Suddenly, the skepticism in the yard vanished, and everyone clapped enthusiastically. Adaeze's uncles joyfully clinked their drinks together, while Chioma rushed over and hugged Uche.
Wow, you're too much. Adaeze, this is how you know a real man.
Throughout the entire spectacle, Emeka stood quietly right beside Adaeze. He didn't speak up, even though he was the actual one who had prepared and paid for the grand gift. He didn't bother to correct them or ruin the family's moment. He just calmly watched it unfold. Later that week, back in the bustling city, the tension of the village birthday party began to fade. Adaeze invited Emeka to a housewarming party hosted by her old schoolmate, Obi, who had just bought a flat and invited all their former university friends to celebrate. Obi's new home was bright, shiny, and filled with modern lights, plush leather chairs, and a massive TV playing the latest music videos. The atmosphere was thick with status. The girls wore heavy makeup and expensive perfume, while the guys wore loud cologne and bragged endlessly about their high-paying jobs in oil companies, banks, and foreign firms.
So you work in oil? Yeah, in finance. You banking? The money's good. Ever think about foreign firms all the time? That's the goal.
Adaeze arrived wearing a very plain gown and flat shoes, while Emeka wore his usual quiet, unassuming clothes. They had barely even stepped across the threshold when the petty whispers started swirling around them.
Is that Adaeze? Still dressing like a help.
She was the best graduating student, right? Guess brains don't always mean money.
A wave of cruel laughter broke out among the guests. Obi welcomed the couple with a stiff, plastic smile.
Adaeze, long time.
Then, she turned her judgmental gaze toward Emeka.
And this is?
Adaeze smiled proudly, undeterred by the atmosphere, and introduced him.
This is Emeka, my fiancé.
Obi raised her eyebrows.
What do you do?
Just trying to make my way.
Ah, no company?
Nope.
No startup?
Nope.
Behind them, someone whispered loudly.
He looks like he just came from fixing the generator at the back.
More malicious laughter filled the room. One of the girls looked at Adaeze and said,
Adaeze, you always liked struggle. Nawa, you really went from class to grass.
A guy pointed at Emeka's shoes.
Where did you buy those? The thrift market?
Another girl squinted.
Wait, wasn't he the guy asking for directions at the bus stop last week? You sure he's not a thief?
Through it all, Emeka's calm smile didn't fade in the slightest. He knew exactly who he was, and he felt absolutely no need to explain his wealth to them. But before a defensive Adaeze could say anything to shield him, Obi made a disgusted face and waved her hand dismissively.
Sorry, but I think he should leave. My neighbors are watching. You know how these estates are.
Within minutes, a uniformed security man appeared at the door.
Please, Madam said you should go.
Emeka stood up quietly, ready to walk away. However, Adaeze didn't hesitate for a single second. She stood up too, fiercely grabbed her bag, and spoke loud enough for the entire room to hear.
You may have nice floors and lights, but if you think this is class, then I don't want it.
She looked deliberately around the room of mocking faces.
Don't look down on people just because you think you're better. You don't know anyone's story. Let's go.
They walked out of the flat with their heads held high and their hearts heavy, but entirely together. Adaeze held Emeka's hand tightly as they stepped toward the exit. Her eyes burned with emotion, but she stubbornly refused to let the tears fall. Not here, and certainly not in front of them. They had mocked her fiancé's clothes, his shoes, and even his dignified silence, but she didn't care. She chose him anyway. They were just 2 steps from the gate when it happened. Horns, lights, and the roar of heavy engines shattered the night. The ground trembled slightly, forcing everyone in the housewarming party to pause. Through the wide estate gates, 3 massive black SUVs rolled in one after the other, their engines humming like lions. Behind them, 2 sleek sedans followed. The convoy moved slowly, commanding absolute attention. Inside the flat, the music abruptly cut off, and even the DJ stood still. The lead SUV's door swung open, and a tall man in a sharp black suit stepped out, adjusting an earpiece. He scanned the stunned crowd, nodded once, and opened the second passenger door. A woman named Adora stepped out, perfectly calm and dressed in impeccable corporate black. She bypassed the crowd and walked straight toward Emeka.
Sir, everything is in place.
Gasps spread through the courtyard like wildfire.
Who is she talking to?
Someone whispered in confusion. Before anyone could comprehend what was happening, more bodyguards stepped out of the other vehicles. Guests quickly whipped out their phones to record the spectacle. One guy whispered,
I think this is a movie shoot. Wait, that guy looks like someone I've seen in the news.
Adaze's hand trembled inside Emeka's grasp. He turned to her, his eyes softening. Then, gently releasing her hand, he took 2 steps forward, reached into his back pocket, and pulled out a folded file. He opened it and raised his voice, not in anger, but with a clarity that echoed through the entire estate.
My name is Emeka Okafor.
The ensuing silence was deafening.
I am the CEO of Okafor Global Holdings, and the only son of Chief and Mrs. Okafor.
He held up the documents, revealing his true identity, his company shares, and newspaper clippings displaying his face at prominent international business conferences. The guests aggressively began browsing their phones, their hands shaking in pure disbelief as photos of Emeka with heads of state, transcripts of his high-profile speeches, and major industry awards flooded their screens. Obi's mouth hung wide open. One of the snobbish girls dropped her wine glass, shattering it on the floor. The guy who had mocked Emeka's thrift market shoes sank into a nearby seat, visibly weak. A boy in the back had been live-streaming the entire encounter. Within minutes, the video went viral, trending rapidly across social media platforms with hashtags like #BillionaireBillionaire and #OkaforReveals. Emeka turned back to Adaeze, his voice softening completely.
I came to you with nothing, Adaeze. No name, no status, just a tired heart and empty hands. You gave me food when you had little. You gave me shelter when you thought I had nowhere else to go. You gave me kindness when the world gave me judgment.
Adaeze stood frozen, tears filling her eyes and spilling over. Emeka dropped to one knee and pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. The entire room gasped, and even the stone-faced security guards looked surprised. He opened it slowly, revealing a massive diamond ring that glistened brilliantly under the estate lights.
Adaeze, you are a rare gem, and I want to spend the rest of my life thanking God for letting me find you. Will you marry me?
Adaeze covered her mouth, tears falling freely now. She nodded vigorously.
Yes. Yes, Emeka. I will marry you.
I never thought I'd find someone like you, Adaeze.
Oh, Emeka.
I love you.
I love you too.
The courtyard broke into applause. Some of the university friends clapped awkwardly, while others simply stood frozen in absolute shame. Obi walked up slowly, her face red with embarrassment.
Emeka, I'm so sorry for everything we said. We didn't know.
He looked at her calmly.
You judged the packaging, not the person.
Then he turned back to Adaeze, holding her hand, his eyes never leaving hers.
You were the only one who saw me.
And in that moment, surrounded by silent stares and flashing cameras, Emeka and Adaeze walked away side by side. Not as a beggar and a teacher, but as soulmates. The news spread like wildfire. At the newsstands, vendors were swamped.
Emeka story, give me 2. Hot off the press, that will be 400 naira.
From beggar to billionaire, unbelievable.
Everyone is talking about it. Here is your change.
2 days after the housewarming drama, Emeka Okafor held a massive press conference. It wasn't for business, and it wasn't for profit, it was entirely personal. As cameras flashed and microphones pointed forward, reporters whispered in eager anticipation. Emeka Okafor stepped up to the podium wearing a sharp, dark blue suit, looking calm and confident while Adora stood firmly beside him. He cleared his throat.
I have a personal announcement to make today, one that's bigger than any company deal or contract.
He declared, looking directly into the lenses.
I want to publicly introduce the woman who changed my life with a plate of food, a dry wrapper, and the kindest heart I've ever known. Her name is Adaeze, and she is my fiancée.
The entire press room gasped. Screens lit up across the country.
And within minutes, the news was everywhere: headlines, blogs, and social media. Okafor CEO engaged to school teacher, from kindness to crown, Adaeze and the billionaire.
The shockwave hits home back in the village. Phones started ringing off the hook. Adaeze's mother sat in stunned silence, reading the breaking news on her small phone with her lips pressed tightly together. In the kitchen, Chioma cried softly, deeply ashamed of her past words. Meanwhile, Uche sat on his bed, turning completely pale. The reality hit him hard. He had insulted, mocked, and even tried to steal credit right in front of the real boss. He was looking at the actual CEO of the company, where he was merely a supervisor at just one of the minor branches. His hands shook uncontrollably, and he couldn't sleep a wink that night. In the city, Emeka had an incredible surprise planned. He drove Adaeze out to a magnificent house built with pristine white walls, glowing golden lights, and beautifully manicured flower gardens.
This is yours.
She stared at the estate, completely speechless.
And this is your new car.
He then handed her a thick envelope. She opened it slowly to find a check for 100 million naira written out in her name, intended for her business, her sewing, and her dreams. Tears filled Adaeze's eyes, but instead of keeping it, she handed the envelope right back to him. Emeka blinked in surprise.
I didn't help you because I wanted anything. I helped you because it was the right thing to do. I can't take this.
Emeka looked at her, utterly stunned. Everyone else in his life always wanted more from him, but she wanted absolutely nothing. Standing nearby, Adaora chuckled and whispered to Emeka.
I told you so.
Emeka laughed quietly, his eyes locked onto Adaeze with deep affection.
And I'm never letting you go.
Later that evening, Emeka's parents finally returned home from a long business trip abroad. The house was quiet when they arrived. A few minutes after they had settled in, Adora entered the room with a soft, respectful knock.
Your son is finally engaged. I believe you must have seen the news.
Upon hearing this, his mother's proud smile instantly froze.
To that nobody?
She uttered. Her face tightened with immediate disapproval.
She's a school teacher, a seamstress. She is not from our world, Adora.
His father stayed quiet, observing the outburst.
She will embarrass us at international events. What will people say? People will say your son found love. That's all.
But his mother wasn't having it.
She is not his equal.
She declared fiercely, folding up the news article and throwing it onto the table. This is not over.
This is not over.
The next morning, Emeka sat across from his parents in the grand living room of the Okafor mansion. Sunlight poured beautifully through the massive glass walls, but inside, the air felt freezing cold. His mother sat rigidly upright, her fingers tapping a slow, tense rhythm on the armrest while his father remained quietly watchful.
I'm happy you're back.
There's something I want to share.
We already know.
His mother cut in sharply. She placed a digital tablet firmly on the table, displaying a picture of Adaeze smiling and holding Emeka's hand.
But Emeka, this simply cannot work.
He looked at her.
She's kind, hardworking, and smart. What more could I possibly want?
You need someone who fits our world. Someone who understands power, politics, and public life.
Emeka shook his head seamlessly.
Adaeze understands me.
His mother stood up and walked slowly to the window.
The Senate President's daughter, Nenna, is single. Her father is ready to hand us a massive highway contract.
We are talking about billions, generational wealth. That is what we have worked so hard for.
As Emeka looked down, his father finally broke his silence.
You cannot let emotions destroy everything we have spent a lifetime building.
But we aren't poor. We already have enough money to last for several generations.
Yes, but we need to protect it with strategy.
His mother replied, pacing back to stand directly in front of him.
You want to throw all of that away for a girl who sews clothes in a wooden shop?
She's not just a girl. She's the woman who gave me back my peace. She made me believe in love again.
His mother's eyes widened with pure anger.
Emeka, you are the heir. The Okafor name must stay respected. Think about the legacy. Think about the business.
He stood too.
I've thought about it, and I would rather lose everything than lose Adaeze.
Then that is your choice.
His mother snapped. She picked up a legal folder from the table and held it out coldly.
From this moment, if you do not agree to marry Nenna, you lose your inheritance, your company shares, your board seat.
Everything.
Emeka's hands curled tightly into fists.
I believe myself capable, and you know that too. My assets do not all come from the Okafor Empire. I am not afraid to start again.
The silence that followed in the grand room was deafening. The war between love and legacy had officially begun. Emeka walked out of the mansion that day feeling as though he had been ripped in half. He had firmly chosen love, but it came at a staggering cost: his inheritance, his position at the company, and everything his family name carried. That night, he sat with Adaeze in the familiar comfort of her small living room. Above them, the old ceiling fan creaked softly, and a single light bulb flickered gently in the dim space. Adaeze sat closely beside him, keeping quiet as she looked into his eyes, sensing the immense weight on his shoulders.
You don't have to say it. I already know what your parents said.
Emeka turned to her.
I don't care what they say.
Oh, Emeka, but you've worked for that company since you were 20. It's your life. It's your name.
Taking her hand firmly in his, Emeka shook his head.
You are more than all of that. I can start over. I have a lot of assets and cash. I won't go broke.
Tears rolled down her cheeks as she looked at him.
I feel like I'm pulling you away from your world.
You are not. You are giving me a new one. A better one.
But deep inside, Adaeze was hurting. She saw the crushing pressure he was under, the judgmental looks from high society, the heavy media headlines, and how his crucial business deals were beginning to fall apart. She desperately loved him, and she refused to be the reason he lost his position as the CEO of the Okafor Group. The next morning, Emeka woke up to an empty house. Adaeze was nowhere to be found. In her workshop, the sewing machine sat completely still, and her piles of vibrant fabric remained untouched. Resting on the table was a small note written in her neat, soft handwriting.
I love you with all my heart, but I'd rather see you succeed than be the reason you lose everything.
Emeka stood frozen in the quiet room, the paper shaking violently in his hands. He felt as though the entire world had dropped out from under him. Days passed. Then came the night of the High Society Gala. Hosted at the magnificent Okafor Towers, the venue was a display of grand opulence, decorated with massive golden chandeliers and sweeping silk curtains. Press and paparazzi swarmed the entrance as the elite arrived. Everyone who mattered was in attendance: powerful senators, prominent CEOs, and wealthy foreign investors. It was designed by his parents to be a night of ultimate power, the perfect stage to publicly announce Emeka's forced engagement to Nenna, the daughter of the Senate president. Nenna stood near the stage in a glittering gown, smiling brightly as the cameras flashed around her. When Emeka arrived noticeably late, Every eye in the room immediately turned toward him. He walked in wearing a plain black suit, no tie, no designer pin, carrying nothing but a calm, unyielding strength in his stride. He walked directly up to the stage and took hold of the microphone.
Good evening, everyone.
An expectant silence fell over the crowd.
I know this night was meant for an announcement. And there is one.
Guests leaned forward in anticipation. He looked around the room, making eye contact with the crowd, and spoke with absolute certainty.
I don't want a queen from politics. I want a queen with a heart. The queen of my heart.
Audible gasps echoed through the ballroom. Nenna blinked in utter confusion as her smile vanished.
My parents gave me an ultimatum.
He paused.
I chose love. I chose love now and forever. If you can't accept the woman who gave me hope when I was lost, who made me see the good in people, then I'll step down as head of the company tonight. If I can't lead with my own heart, then I have no business leading at all.
The gasps instantly turned into a wave of stunned murmurs as people exchanged incredulous glances. Without waiting for a response, Emeka stepped down from the stage and walked out into the night, his head held high and his heart completely open. Meanwhile, far away from the flashing lights of the city, Adaeze sat quietly on the edge of a small bed. Her fingers trembled slightly as she held a small white test strip. 2 pink lines. She stared at the test again and again as silent, soft tears rolled down her cheeks. It wasn't out of fear, but from the immense weight of love and confusion sitting heavy in her chest. She was pregnant. It had been 2 weeks since she left Emeka. In that time, she hadn't picked up any of his frantic calls, nor had she opened a single one of his messages. To completely disappear, she had changed towns, moved in with an old friend, and taken up a job teaching at a small remote community school. Looking down at her hands, she wiped her tears and tried to soothe her aching heart. Every single day, she repeated the same phrase to herself like a protective mantra.
It's better this way. He deserves to fly without worrying about me. I'll raise this child alone with love.
She rubbed her belly gently, whispering to the life growing inside her.
You're not alone. Okay, Mommy's here.
Yet, the strength she maintained by day faded into vulnerability at night. On some nights, she held her pillow tight and cried silently because she missed him so deeply. Meanwhile, Emeka was completely restless. Desperate to find her, he had searched every single corner of the city, called every number he could think of, and checked every neighborhood where she might be. He even visited her home village again, but no one there had heard from her. One evening, he stood outside her old sewing shop. The lights were entirely off, and the air was completely still. Looking at the empty space, he whispered into the dark.
Where are you, Adaeze?
He had willingly given up everything, his wealth, his status, his inheritance. But without her, even his newfound freedom felt entirely empty. One quiet afternoon, Emeka's mother found herself at a charity event in a small town. She had decided to temporarily escape the relentless noise of high society after the absolute disaster at the gala, where her son had walked away from his legacy. As she passed a local health center, she caught sight of a familiar face. The young woman looked thin and tired, but she was glowing. It was Adaeze. She was actively helping a pregnant woman carry a bag of baby clothes. Emeka's mother paused, watching Adaeze from a distance. She observed how softly Adaeze smiled, how she tenderly held the woman's hand, and how she gently wiped away her tears. Then her eyes traveled down toward Adaze's own belly, and she noticed a tiny bump. It wasn't obvious at all to ordinary onlookers, but for a mother with a keen eye, she could tell instantly. Her eyes widened, and her heart stilled. Stepping closer, she asked a clinic nurse quietly.
Do you know that young woman? Yes, I believe I do.
The nurse replied with a warm smile.
That's Miss Adaeze. Sweet girl. She teaches the children here, and she helps expecting mothers.
Emeka's mother stood in absolute silence for a long time. The very woman she had once harshly rejected, the one she claimed was not from their world, was now carrying her grandchild, and she was carrying it with unmatched grace. For the first time in a very long while, something deep inside her icy heart melted. That evening, she sat quietly in her room holding a cup of tea that had gone completely cold. She couldn't stop thinking about Adaeze's face, the way she smiled beautifully through her own pain, how she helped others when she had nothing herself, and how she carried Emeka's child without ever asking his family for a single thing. Her husband walked into the room, silent as usual, reading the day's financial reports.
I saw her today.
Who?
Adaeze.
His eyes narrowed slightly.
She's expecting. She's living in a tiny place, teaching and helping out at a clinic. You still standing tall?
Her husband said nothing, listening intently.
She's carrying our grandchild, and I judged her all this time. I judged her simply for not being born into an influential family. But she has something money can never buy. Strength, loyalty, and heart. She is the right one for our son.
Hearing this, her husband's face softened. For the first time in years, he walked over to her and nodded in full agreement.
You're right. I have noticed how much our son has changed for the better ever since he met her.
That very same evening, Emeka received an unexpected phone call from Adora. She gave him the exact address of where Adaeze was hiding. Emeka didn't wait a single second. He immediately got into his car and drove himself straight to the small clinic in the quiet town. When he finally walked through the doors, he saw her. She was seated, looking calm, with both of her hands resting gently over her belly. Sensing a presence, she looked up and froze as their eyes locked. Neither of them spoke for a long moment, the air thick with emotion. Then, Adaeze slowly stood up, her eyes turning watery, completely unsure if he was real or if her heart was playing tricks on her.
I didn't want to disturb your life. I just wanted to raise our child in peace.
Emeka stepped forward, his gaze locking onto hers with intense emotion.
You're carrying our child?
She nodded. Without another word, he pulled her tightly into his arms, holding her close as if he would never let her go again.
Thank you, Adaeze. I've never been happier in my life. I thought I lost everything, but I just found everything.
A few days later, Emeka took Adaeze to meet his parents. She sat quietly inside the luxurious Okafor mansion, her posture tense and unsure of what to expect. Sensing her anxiety, Emeka squeezed her hand and reassured her.
Don't worry, my parents will love you.
I hope so.
Then his father walked up to her, removed his cap, and looked directly into her eyes.
First and foremost, I need to say sorry. I judged you before I even knew you.
Adaeze's lips parted in complete shock.
You gave our son something we couldn't. Peace. And now, a family.
His mother added, stepping forward with a warm smile. Adaeze nodded, too moved to speak as tears welled in her eyes.
Thank you.
His father added softly, cementing her place in their hearts. A few days later, Adaeze was sitting comfortably at the Okafor mansion, her hands wrapped around a warm cup, when her phone suddenly rang. It was her own family calling. It wasn't just her mother or Ife, it was all of them, her uncles, her aunties, and her cousins. They didn't just speak to her though, they formally asked to speak to Emeka. One by one, they came on the line apologizing.
We should have reached out to you long ago, but we were too ashamed. We were wrong.
I misjudged you. I looked down on you, and now I have learned a valuable lesson. Thank you for loving her the way we should have.
Emeka listened intently, nodded, and forgave them with a soft, gracious voice. Because Adaeze's heart was incredibly big, his own had grown to be just as forgiving. Soon after, the sweeping love story of Emeka and Adaeze was everywhere. It dominated newspapers, blogs, and news channels. The billionaire who was willing to give up everything for love, and the humble teacher who loved him without ever knowing his vast wealth or prominent family name. The public response was overwhelming. Investors deeply admired his courage and integrity, causing shares in the Okafor group to double. Old business partners returned, new ones eagerly joined, and people trusted him more than ever. He was no longer just viewed as a calculated businessman, but as a man with a genuine heart. This time around, Emeka wasn't just a CEO, he was a man respected by the entire world for who he was, not just what he owned. While Emeka's name rose to new heights, Uche's path took a quiet downward turn. His fall came silently, with no press and no public noise. One morning, a cold memo arrived from headquarters. He was summarily terminated. A routine audit had revealed that he had been secretly moving company funds into fake accounts. Emeka hadn't asked for the investigation, nor did he seek revenge. He was far too busy building his new life to care about a supervisor from a small branch. In fact, he didn't even know it happened. But karma ultimately had its way. Uche left the company in absolute shame, knowing he had lost not just a job, but his own integrity.
He was escorted out of the building with his head hanging low, leaving in total disgrace, the exact same way he had once made others feel.
The sun shone softly over the grand Okafor mansion. The morning air smelled beautifully of fresh jasmine and rich vanilla. A long, elegant red carpet stretched proudly down the aisle, meticulously lined with golden chairs and scattered rose petals. White doves sat in decorative cages, ready to be released into the open sky to celebrate a love that had defied all odds.
And then the whole world was invited to one event.
Adjust that one slightly.
The wedding.
All right, team. Let's confirm the Okafor centerpiece placements are final.
The media whispered about it endlessly, but inside the gates, the day wasn't about status or power, it was purely about true love. And Adaeze, who had once been judged harshly for her simple dresses, walked through the gardens beside Emeka Okafor's mother, the very woman who had once rejected her. Together, they smiled and chose the flowers for the ceremony. It was truly the wedding of the century, drawing a massive gathering of world leaders, prominent CEOs, and distant royals at the Okafor Mansion Gardens. Yet, as Emeka stood at the altar, his eyes completely bypassed the crowd, searching for only one face. Then, she stepped out. Adaeze walked down the aisle slowly, her white gown flowing behind her like water. Her hair was styled in soft curls tucked beneath a delicate veil, and her hands held a simple, elegant bouquet of white lilies. She carried herself with the grace of a queen, a dignity she had always possessed, but one that the entire world could finally see. Audible gasps filled the air, moved not just by the beauty of her dress, but by the radiant glow in her eyes. Sitting near the front, Chioma watched her sister approach, tears already streaming down her cheeks. Adaeze's mother held her hand to her heart, completely overwhelmed by the grace of her daughter. She was no longer just a simple village girl, she was a bride whom the world had gathered to honor. As Adaeze finally reached the altar, Emeka's eyes welled with tears. She looked up at him, a gentle smile on her lips. "Hey, you're breathtaking." The priest smiled warmly at the couple and asked them to share their vows. Emeka took her hand in his, looked deeply into her eyes, and began.
Adaeze, you found me when I was nothing. You loved me when I had nothing.
I promise to love you, protect you, and stand by you every day of forever.
Adaeze wiped a tear from her cheek before speaking her own heart.
Emeka, the day I gave you a plate of food, I never imagined you would give me your whole heart in return. I will love you in every season, in the rain, in the sun, in everything. With you, I am home.
The emotional weight of their words caused the crowd to sniffle and wipe away tears. Even the camera crews stood completely still, captured by the sincerity of the moment. When the priest finally pronounced, "You may now kiss your bride," Emeka cupped Adaeze's face gently and kissed her with all the tenderness in his heart. Right on cue, the white doves were released, soaring into the sky as brilliant fireworks illuminated the afternoon. The entire crowd erupted into joyful applause.
I'm so proud of you, sister.
Chioma ran up to the altar and
I'm
hugged
so
her
sorry
sister
for
tightly,
everything.
sobbing.
It's okay. It's all okay now. Thank you
Adaeze's
for
mother
loving
then
her.
wrapped Emeka in a tight
Thank
embrace,
you, my son.
whispering through her tears.
She gave me everything, Mama.
Nearby, his parents stood watching, completely humbled and changed, clapping with deep pride for the couple. The wedding reception was hosted under a magnificent glass canopy, glowing with golden lights and echoing with the sounds of laughter, music, and joyful dancing. But amidst the celebration, the overwhelming feeling in the room was peace. As the night deepened, Adaeze and Emeka danced slowly together under the stars. The grand world watching them seemed to fade away completely into the background. In that exact moment, nothing else mattered but their love and the sacred promise they had made to keep it always. Adaeze was no longer just a schoolteacher, she was Emeka Okafor's wife. Together, their journey stood as living proof to the world that true love always wins. 5 years passed, and the grand Okafor mansion was no longer the quiet, lonely place it used to be. The dark, empty rooms were now filled with light, vibrant colors, and the joyful sound of running feet. Little Amara, their 4-year-old daughter, ran across the green lawn, laughing out loud as she chased a tiny puppy. Emeka stood out on the patio holding a warm mug of tea, watching them with a peaceful smile. He wasn't wearing a designer suit or a gold watch. Instead, he wore plain trousers and a simple cotton shirt. Adaeze walked up quietly behind him and wrapped her arms around his waist. "She has your stubbornness," Adaeze whispered, resting her chin gently on his back.
She has your stubbornness.
And your beautiful heart.
Emeka replied, turning around to press a soft kiss to her forehead. A lot had changed in those 5 years. Emeka remained the CEO of the Okafor Group, but the entire company operated differently now. It was no longer just about building luxury estates for the rich. Emeka had launched a completely new division focused heavily on affordable housing, public schools, and community hospitals. The board of directors had complained loudly at first. However, when the massive wave of public goodwill caused the company's profits to skyrocket, the complaints stopped completely. Adaeze hadn't just settled into the life of a rich housewife. She couldn't stand sitting idle. She eventually accepted the 100 million money pool, using it not as a personal gift, but as seed money. Right on the exact spot where her old leaking wooden shop used to stand, she founded the Grace Foundation and built a massive, free vocational academy. The academy taught valuable tailoring, tech skills, and business management to young men and women who had nothing. She was still a teacher at heart, but now she had hundreds of students looking up to her daily. Adora, the loyal assistant who had kept Emeka's secret and supported him from the absolute start, was rewarded far beyond her wildest dreams. She was promoted to Chief Operating Officer, COO, of the Okafor Group. She and her husband became close family friends with the couple, often coming over for lively Sunday dinners filled with loud laughter and good food. Even his parents had completely transformed. His mother, who once cared strictly about high society galas and politics, was now completely obsessed with her granddaughter. She visited almost every single day, bringing baked goods, storybooks, and toys. She had completely traded her cold, strict demeanor for the warm, soft smile of a doting grandmother, and she loved Adaeze like her own daughter. As for Uche and Chioma, life humbled them significantly. Chioma learned true humility after her bank faced a severe crisis, and Adaeze, without a single shred of hesitation, stepped in to help her secure a new, better position. That pure act of kindness broke Chioma's pride forever. Meanwhile, Uche became nothing more than a distant memory, drifting aimlessly from one small job to another, a bitter daily reminder that arrogance never pays the bills. But through all the wealth and monumental changes, the most important thing between Emeka and Adaeze had not changed. Every single year, on the exact date that the heavy rain had fallen, the unforgettable day Adaeze first offered a homeless beggar her plate of food and her dry wrapper, they kept a sacred tradition. They didn't travel to Paris, Dubai, or London to celebrate their success. Instead, they dressed down in simple clothes, and Emeka drove an old, plain car. They parked near the familiar street corner by the vocational academy.
They set up long tables and brought out heavy coolers filled with hot, fresh food, jollof rice, beans, plantains, and chicken. Together with little Amara, who happily handed out bottled water, they fed every single person who walked by. The street hawkers, the local mechanics, the homeless and tired travelers all gathered together. Emeka would look at the people sitting contentedly under the shade, eating happily, and he would remember exactly how it felt to be cold, hungry, and completely invisible. It was a feeling he never wanted to forget.
Thank you, sir.
A young boy said, taking a warm plate directly from Emeka's hands.
You are very welcome, my friend. God bless you.
At the end of the day, when the food was finally gone and the busy streets grew quiet, Emeka and Adaeze sat down together on the hood of their old red car. Little Amara was already fast asleep in the back seat, completely exhausted from a long afternoon of helping her parents. Adaeze rested her head gently on his shoulder, intertwining her fingers tightly with his. She looked out over the quiet neighborhood and asked softly,
Do you ever miss the quiet mansion?
Never. That house was a tomb. This is life.
He reached deep into his pocket and pulled out a small object wrapped carefully in a handkerchief. As he unfolded the cloth, it revealed the faded plastic spoon she had given him with that very first container of rice and beans 5 years ago. He had kept it safely preserved all this time.
Adaeze saw it and laughed, tears instantly springing to her eyes.
Emeka, you still have that?
It is my most valuable possession. It reminds me every single day that the poorest of the world is not the one without money. The poorest man is the one without love.
And the richest man
Because the richest man is the one who finds his queen in the rain. And the richest woman is the one who recognizes a king in his most broken hour.